So we're here once again. Myself, Donovan Reynolds, the CEO of KingstonMark.com. And as usual, I've got with me Ann Smith, managing editor of KingstonMark.com. Thanks to all our friends across the world who sort of participated in our last debate. That was really interesting. And we took a different angle in terms of how we dealt with that topic. I'm talking about the question of self and the whole debate around self-concept. Now this week we're going to continue in a sort of different vein by discussing the issue of masculinity. And with me is Ann Smith, and she's going to lead off this discussion.
Okay, starting with a quote from a professor called Peter McAllister, who said, "I have a strong feeling that masculinity is in crisis. Men are really searching for a role in modern society. The things we used to do aren't in much demand anymore." So I want you to respond to that quote, Donovan.
So there's a concept that emerged out of the 1970s that there was a crisis in masculinity and the role of men were under assail because they were changing. And the debate has continued into the new millennium, where people are sort of looking at how technology and big data have changed the way culturally how men operate. We're no longer providers, and we're cast into different roles. And as a result of that, also, the role of sort of men, the expectation for you to be macho. There's this question, is gender a biological construct or a sociocultural construct? So the whole debate about masculinity, my perspective on it really is that it's situational. And as society changes, we adapt to the environment and the new roles and the new technology that is brought to bear.
So has masculinity always existed since sort of the Stone Age or before the Stone Age even?
Well, I think masculinity really is a social construct that came out of a sort of two things. A Greco-Roman understanding is a social construct, that there are certain attributes to male that is ascribed to male in a patriarchal framework as opposed to binary opposites of female. And that's always up for debate because we're never ever born with a female brain or a male brain. Although biologically in terms of description, we've got differentiation, but that doesn't set us up above each other. We're human beings together. And I believe in equality of the gender. And I believe that differences should not lead men to the assumption that they've got greater power and should therefore benefit from society in a sort of hierarchical, powerful position. It's about power relationships, isn't it?
But if it's being suggested that masculinity is in crisis, then there has to be some definition of what masculinity is. So what is masculinity in today's society?
Well, it's more of expectations, you understand me? I refer back to my earlier argument that in the Greco-Roman understanding of male-female relationship, especially with the acquisition of property coming out of the agrarian society, men started to use the property to sort of define themselves in a powerful way and to set up social institutions and ideas. If you look at religion, it is framed in a way, a masculine way. You look at politics, it's framed in a masculine way. Almost every social institution that we straddle have men sort of positioning themselves because of property, because of power, because of the false assumption that they are more powerful than women.
Do you think men believe that now?
It's changing, you understand. One of the things that came out of the feminist movement was a challenge to this binary opposites that came out of the sort of discussion around linguistics about binary opposite, men, women, assuming power relationship, and there was Derrida and a lot of different sort of philosophers who tried to sort of deconstruct this idea, straight down to Michael Foucault, calling for a more equal society where we deconstruct the idea of binary opposites holding superior position over each other.
But that's where the masculinity crisis has started from, the fact that men are not now sure of what their role is, and that's why they're saying there is a crisis, I think.
Do you know, I do think that men are really sort of sure of their roles. They're sure that with all the things that have been brought to bear on society, there is a transformation in the roles that we sort of have, we used to have. There's no longer the man going out and bringing home the pay packet. In the society that we live in, women...
Sometimes they still do.
Especially since the 1930s. Women have sort of, equal on equal footing. Technology is something sort of that suits, and accommodate the female gender, so to speak.
But the whole notion of this crisis has to be thought about seriously, because it has been written about a lot. And there are men who say they feel there is some crisis.
So let's sort of challenge that. Because one of the things that we do in critical thinking, and that's why sort of philosophical understanding are necessary, because we challenge those assumptions, and when we look back at situation, there is no crisis. As a matter of fact, Peter McAllister, who came up with it, he wasn't even a social scientist. He was an archaeologist. So, and I know that seems as if I'm attacking him personally. But there's no crisis. There's just situation. There is perspectivism. We've got a perspective on everything. It's very difficult to sort of define or observe humanity, because humanity is changing and we are unpredictable. And men, the role of men are beginning to change. Culturally, men are sort of taking on sort of feminine. We're sharing the task.
Donovan, some men are, but not all men are. And I think that I believe there is some crisis, because I do think that some men are unsure of their role, especially younger men maybe, where women are quite powerful and women are intelligent and women are well educated, and they assume sometimes masculine roles, and then men are not sure how they should behave and respond when this happens. And some men are fine with it, but some men are finding it quite difficult, I think. Coming from my generation of the punk, when we believed in equality totally, but we know that's not really true.
But I believe that the reason why some men are unsure of themselves is because of a number of different reasons. One, of the breakdown in society. 2, we need knowledge, and poverty plays into it, where we need people to sort of open up knowledge, you understand me, have access to good education, to recognize that there are changes, and that the role of man is no longer the sort of man who comes out of the cave, you understand me, and sort of rule, or the property man and brings it home. That the role is changing, and we've got to adapt, because much of human history and anthropologists will tell you it's about adaptation. And we've got to adapt to this new society. We've got to adapt to the challenges. A lot of this challenge came out of sort of the feminist movement, although it splintered in all sorts of different directions. But they were right to challenge the hierarchy of masculinity.
Okay.
And I see myself as a sort of egalitarian man, an equal man, a man who believes in humanity is equal.
I see you as a masculine man, Donovan.
do you
Well,
know
I
what?
do.
I'm
I
quite
do.
flattered by that, but I don't see myself.
Well,
Conceptually,
you have
I see
masculine
myself.
traits, for sure.
I do, you
But
understand me?
you do have
But you know
feminine
what?
traits as well.
Those masculine traits don't prevent me from making the dinner. It don't prevent me from taking part in the
But that's because
household chores.
there's been a decision around who is better at cooking the dinner, and that is you, not me. But that's nothing to do with being masculine or feminine, to be truthful. That's because you're a skillful cook and I'm a useless cook. It's nothing.
And might I add to my friends out there that
That
I do
is true.
help you with your hair sometimes.
Please. Well, the point is, I don't think that's right.
Unashamed of that.
Yeah, but that's not around being masculine and feminine. And we both work. We can both bring
Provide.
money in
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
to our families. And you know, I have some masculine traits. We've just said that. Although I seem quite a feminine person, I'm quite an organised person.
But you know, I'm glad you touched on that, because there are women who are androgynous, who've got masculine traits. And that's distinct from the power relationship. One of the worrying things, and I think that's where the discussion should go, is it's not the equality of the sexes is not happening at a pace that we imagine. Yes, we've got people like our British Prime Minister, who is a female. We've got in the third world loads of women Prime Minister. But that doesn't change the old boy network. Men have really still positioned themselves. The framework is there. And what we need to do is to challenge those vestiges of the old boy brigade.
How does that affect this masculinity in crisis theory?
Do you know? Because it's a separate debate, you understand? It sends the wrong signal to people about this sort of masculinity debate. I do agree that it's a side issue. But, you know, the understanding is that, for me, and I'm putting it out there, for us as men, that we've got to understand that we've got to change. You know, we can't see our differentiation because we've got bigger muscles or rougher voices as a sort of one-upmanship in gender terms, discussion terms on women. We've got to see them equally. We've got to see them and respect them. You know, and I say to them, you know, okay then, let's go back to the discussion about the crisis in masculinity. Right now, as we speak, fashion is changing. When I go to Acne in the days to work, loads of men are wearing beard now. Is that...
Yeah, well, that's because we look more masculine, isn't it? Because they're saying we are men, we're wearing a big hairy face, and most women can't grow a beard.
And let's also agree on this, that the argument about masculinity, the crisis in masculinity, is a sort of perspectivism that delineate other sort of social construct like gay people. And there are loads of different types of social sort of framework in terms of relationships. So,
to sum up then, are you saying there is a crisis in masculinity or there isn't? As far as you are concerned, as a man, not me. I can't decide on that because I'm not a man.
I am saying it is situational. What's happening is tied to how society is changing, our socio-economic trends, and the changing environment, the push towards technology, the push towards modernity, the push towards our roles have to change. One pay packet can't pay for all. We live in a capitalist society where two people need now to work together to pay the bills and to share not only a salary but respect on a decent footing. Okay. So thank you very much. I know that we normally sort of smell of high ideals and difficult conversations, but we're hoping that this conversation has been taken down in an intelligent way, and we're looking forward to you emailing us and asking us further questions about this. So once again, thanks for reading our articles at kingstonmark.com. And we look forward to hearing from our friends across the globe. Thank you very much.